Welcome to Building Trades Week 2022. I'm Kate Lee. I'm the Executive Director of Education and Workforce for the South Bend Regional Chamber. Allison Herzig is hiding behind that South Bend Regional Chamber little magic box there, doing all the voodoo in the background. So thanks to her for all the hard work she's put into getting all this set up and making sure that we have students connected to our building trades experts. A quick housekeeping. Thanks to all of you for being here, but then all attendees are muted. So we still want to hear from you. Please use the chat function to ask any questions or share comments. The session is scheduled for 30 minutes, so our advice is to put the questions in as you go so we don't end up with a backlog of questions at the end. We'd appreciate that, and we will relay the questions. Also, if you're on this, please drop your school into the chat so we know who's here and out in our listening audience. We want to thank all of our sponsors for Building Trades Week 2022, including our premier sponsor, St. Joe Valley Building Trades. And Allison is going to recognize our presenting sponsors in the chat. Also, please visit the Building Trades Week landing page to learn more about sponsors, businesses, and all the great facts about careers in the building trades. We're excited to welcome Tony Polotto, Director of Construction and Quality Assurance at the University of Notre Dame. This session will provide an overview of Notre Dame's ongoing construction projects, so many construction projects, highlighting some of the larger scope projects and the benefits of careers in building trades. So welcome, Tony. Thanks for being here today.
Oh, thank you for inviting me. It was my pleasure.
Great. So I'm going to start out with questions, and then as I encourage everybody to just drop theirs into the chat, if you come up with others, we would welcome those, and we will relay those questions to Tony. Okay, I'm going to start with the university. It's constantly evolving. Can you give the students an overview of the projects your team is responsible for, like the number of workers, years to build, value? It seems like things are going up so fast, but I'm sure to you, sometimes it feels like it's never fast enough and there's always something else in the hopper.
Yeah, well, what a great question. It's a big question as well. So the university is really a small town. We have over 185 buildings, physical buildings, big buildings, over 11 million square feet to maintain. And there's constantly an appetite to grow, especially research and graduate operations. That's what we really want to do. How do we cure the next cancer and so on, is what a good research university wants to be. So it's not just building dorms and classrooms, it's the world-class research facilities, which means it's not going to stop growing. I've been working on campus for nearly 30 years. The place doesn't even look like it did 30 years ago, and it's never stopped, right? And so typically we're building 2 to 3 new buildings at a time, and these are big commercial buildings. It had obviously a small slowdown during COVID, but it's not just the new building construction, it's also the renovations and the care of the 185 existing buildings. These need new windows and new roof systems and carpet and paint, and renovations are consistently, big projects. So, it's a tough question to ask how many people we need, but on average, I would say, especially during the summertime, we have over 500 workers on campus at any one time. When we get into building peaks, for instance, when we were building the stadium additions, we had well over 1,000 to 1,200 workers for over a year at a time. So that's one of our big concerns is, who's going to build the next generation of these buildings, and how are we going to fill those manpower voids?
Yeah, and like what you talked about with the maintenance. So when we were kind of doing some research for Building Trades Week, and I was out looking at job postings at Notre Dame, to think that the campus has a locksmith, and then I was like, well, of course, think how many locks are on campus. That's a lot of locks.
That's exactly right. We also have shops that we employ the trades for, carpentry shop, paint shop, mechanical shop, plumbing shop, roofing shop, to just take care of the daily orders of, we have a leak, we have a broken pipe, those types of things. I would assume we have probably 70 to 100 positions of that just every single day of maintaining the place. Notre Dame doesn't have those employees. We count on the trades, the building trades, to do that for us, the experienced and qualified people to do those repairs.
Yeah, and so that leads to another question. So there's a shortage, a well-documented shortage across the United States of building tradespeople. And how does this affect projects on campus? Like, where have you seen an impact on I guess, how quick you can do things, how you can find people, and what it kind of feels like kind of on the employer side or the project management side of that.
Yeah, wow, that's a powerful question, and it's a big one, and it's a national problem right now, and just not here on campus. It's something that we're trying to get our arms around right now. I'll give you a great example of the severity of this. As I mentioned, our typical workforce is over 500 tradesmen. Coming out of COVID in the summer of 2021, we were getting calls from contractors, our friends, our partners, saying, gee whiz, we got a problem. We've got estimating capacity, we've got project management capacity, we've even got equipment sitting in our yard, scaffolding and walls and bobcats and excavators, but we don't have the manpower we need to fulfill the obligations we already have with you for this summer. It was frightening for us. We were in the first time position, scavenging our own projects and prioritizing to get things done. For instance, we had a project that really needed about 20 trim carpenters for several months, and they didn't have 20 trim carpenters. It's a specialty trade. We ended up shutting our carpentry shop down and sending those trim carpenters to the project. And we actually shut down another one of our construction projects and sent all those carpenters over to that project just so we could make sure it got done on time because it was critical. That's scary moving forward because we're now going to go into another big building boom of new buildings, and big renovation projects, not just coming out of COVID. And we worry, what are we going to do? How are we going to build this next generation of buildings? So I don't think that we have the solution yet, other than we really need great recruitment into the trades. It's, and it's every trade. It's excavators and carpenters and painters and concrete finishers and masons, mechanical trades, sheet metal, plumbing. It's across the board. So if there's interest in one or all of those, boy, they have capacity.
And I think what's really interesting about the trades too, you might maybe coming straight out of high school, you're not exactly sure what you want to do. So you say, well, I like to paint. So you become a painter. And then you get to know the carpenters. So you're like, well, that looks interesting. And you can really move yourself around within the trades and collect different specialties as you go and make yourself a really well-rounded kind of multi-trades person. And I've talked on a previous one of these, just talking about the entrepreneurship boom that we are talking about. Like, that's the thing. And I'm like, if you're a skills-based entrepreneur, like you can actually do the thing and you want to own your own business, to me, this is like the huge opportunity for our youth. Like, or even anybody, like if you have a skill and you want to hang out your own shingle and own your own business, get some business classes and then go do that.
Oh, what a great point. It's one of the issues here as well. South Bend specifically is on its own little desert island. I remember when I first started in this trade, there used to be about 6 or 7 of the largest general contractors in the state of Indiana right here. Companies called Calumet Construction and HD Chrisman and Castile and Verkler and Ranke and Zolkowski. Fast forward 20 years, every single one of those, when they transitioned from the original owners to the second owners or the children that really didn't have the interest or the passion that their parents did, the companies all failed. And now we have one large local general contractor to feed our community, which is just a dire different. And that's what we talk about here is, where's the drive and capacity to start your own business? To get into the trades, boy, you would instantly have the market. You're not bidding against 7, 8 large competitors that will really hinder your ability to grow. You've got a clean slate. Why aren't people doing more of this lately? So you bet, Kate, it's a great point. It's something that we hope people would do, not just get into the trades, but get into the business.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. So that leads me to, I think, a good segue into, tell us about your career pathway. Where did you start? Start with like, what was your first job, and then talk about like how you ended up where you are today.
Great question. It's kind of a boring story. In the old days, the college wasn't pushed as much. We're talking 1980s, and so what is a farm kid to do? Trim Christmas trees, detassel corn, and the other aspect was work in construction, right? And that's what I did in high school. Just kind of a makeshift carpenter. I really didn't have the skills, but I would carry lumber and do whatever I was asked and introduced to the trade. So I was lucky enough to be able to kind of co-op and find out what I like. I was around painters and electricians and mechanical guys and concrete guys and carpenters. And it was something I really enjoyed. I really enjoyed building stuff. Well, by the time I graduated from high school, they were pushing college at the time, pushing it really, really hard. And I decided that's what I was going to do. So I went to Purdue in construction technology and graduated in 1991 and got my first job. And I was so lucky with Zolkowski Construction locally, thinking, holy moly, this is a humongous company. Again, coming from a small farm town, and starting to work for a 60 to 80 million dollar a year company, I thought was going to work at the Trump Tower, for crying out loud at the time. And it was a great experience because, again, I was able to build stuff. I was an estimator and project manager. That was my job. But we employed at Zolkowski several trades. They do self-perform, concrete and carpentry and paint and carpet and masonry work, and was really able to bond and learn the trade well in all aspects. Fortunately, Zolkowski did a lot of Notre Dame's work. And so what I ended up doing was building some relationships with Notre Dame executives, and boy, the buildings here are amazingly beautiful. One day I just made the decision, that's what I want to do. I want to build those buildings and in those buildings alone. So I'm starting my 20th year here at Notre Dame, kind of running the program here. And it's amazing. Honestly, it's an amazing career. I couldn't imagine doing anything different.
Wonderful. And you notice you mentioned the pendulum shift, like they weren't pushing college, then they were pushing college, and how I think we're swinging back to that and seeing that there's a balance in there. Like not everybody has to go straight to a four-year college. There are different pathways for everybody. So what are some of the careers, different construction positions that people can enter into either straight from, you can go straight from high school and then build on top of that foundation. Or you could go to college, and there's just there's so many different pathways that people can take.
There really is. I mean, if you're interested in the trade at all, I'm pretty certain that there's a pathway that will make you happy. You could do what I did and go into the executive management role where you're a project manager and estimator, if that makes you happy. You can be the engineers that design it, architects, civil engineers, structural engineers, mechanical, electrical engineers. There's a whole triad of disciplines. You can even go into the sustainability portion, the lead portion, and now there's a huge market for lead consultants just to help the engineering team and the design team guide you through the right decisions to make on the sustainability action. And then there's the owner side, like in Notre Dame, that we hire people to maintain the place and to build the place. We've got a team of 160 people in our department that takes care of it, including the landscapers. So that's a trade in itself. And so the trades are amazing. And Kate, you're absolutely right. It was frustrating and disappointing to me to see the complete push towards college and abandoning the trades, especially now that I see what they earn and what they do for this community. Seeing that we're low on people is frightening. How do we build the country if there's nobody to build it? Seeing the packages and the wages and the benefits and the retirement that the trades get, and the perks, the benefits of, if you show up every day and you're a hard worker and you end up being a foreman or superintendent, well, now you have a company truck, and guess what? They pay for your gas and your oil changes. And when you have to make a car payment this day and age and see the value of that, it's huge. The vacations and holidays that they get, it's no different than big business. I can tell you with confidence that some of the top tier contractors, superintendents, are making every bit of as much as what I make in my position. So that disparity between the trades and college really isn't there anymore, and it's been a tough battle.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting. So I'm part of this thing with Harbor Freight, and Harbor Freight has really gone all in with Harbor Freight tools for schools and really trying to solve kind of this riddle of how we re-engage students with the trades, but also adults. So I think the majority of our audience here is high school students, but we're hoping that others will listen to this, especially parents. If you were like a mid-career person, let's say you're in your 30s, is there a pathway into building trades from another career? Have you seen people do that?
Yeah, both ways. When times get tough, I've seen building trades go to other organizations, like in the Great Recession in 2007 and 8. But I've also seen recruitment, especially this day and age, to say, "Ooh, boy, the compensation package is really well." And coming from the factories and coming from smaller maybe housing contractors into the actual building trades to build big things is a pretty good trend, and really it's what the union uh, uh, business agents really like as well, because they're talent there already. They're doing it. It's literally a shift into a new realm. So yes, I have seen that. It's always nice to get people when they're young, so they really get the experience young, and by the time they're in their 30s, they're that next level of supervision and foreman that we're looking for. But yeah, it's the trade can be started almost at any time in your career.
Yeah, it's never too late to shift. We did hear yesterday that someone had joined the apprenticeship program at the age of 60. So
Wow.
there are there are ways to do it, I think, if you're willing to keep on working. I got a dad who's still doing stuff at 85. So, I think, you just never know.
Right.
So we had a question in the chat. What is the starting pay rate for most of the union trades right now?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think it varies. Now, remember, if you go into a union trade, you're going to be in an apprenticeship program. And so it's normally a 4-year training program, if you will, that you're working. You're actually earning money. It's not like college where you have to spend money. You're earning money and getting trained at the same time. I think it's once a month you have to go into class and learn, and then you apply those skills back into the field in your job going in. And I think from just an average is somewhere around $17 an hour to start. That's first year apprenticeship. And then you get like 20% bumps per year. So instead of a 3% pay raise every year, you get bumped up until the final journeyman rate, which is probably in the mid to late 20s as far as per hour that you would make. It's not the entire package. That's just what you would see on your check. From my understanding, it's about another 40 to 50% of your pay is what gets put onto benefits, such as your taxes and insurance and your retirement and your union affiliation information. I know that some young people that actually join the trades reach full retirement capabilities by the time they're 55 years old. So like me in my job, I'm not going to probably be able to retire until I'm 65 or 67. But yet I know tradesmen that literally are fully vested and have a full retirement program by the time they're 55 years old. So, your entire package is probably up into the $50, $60 an hour neighborhood by the time you're a full-fledged journeyman.
And we're lucky because we have Joe on here from the Iron Workers, and he's dropping in the chat some information on where they start with the full benefit package and that type of information. And every trade is a little bit different. So I'd encourage anybody who's hearing this conversation to go out and kind of just explore those different opportunities. And the career pathway pages that are on the building trades landing page have a lot of that information as well. So
yeah. The important aspect is, especially as wages keep increasing for even other small businesses like fast food, it's still more than that, but you get substantial bumps every year for the 4 years that you go through your training, and that goes pretty quickly. And then you make it to really great salary after that. In addition to your normal union wages, if you become a foreman or a superintendent, you get bumped on top of that as well and get to that superintendent pay.
Yeah. So there are just so many opportunities for growth. And I do think this is like a skill set you can take with you that you can use professionally, personally, and really the sky's the limit for what you're willing to do and what you're interested in. And
yeah, I love that comment, mainly because do you know how many homeowners, especially young homeowners that I know or have seen, that don't know how to even maintain their own home? Having that skill is invaluable. You'll have it for the rest of your life, and you don't have to pay people to do that. Even my own daughter just bought her first house this last year, and I'm kind of cursing under my breath because I spend every weekend at her house just doing stuff that she has no idea how to do. That you'd have that ability. It's something nobody could take away from you.
yeah. Oh, you love hanging out at your daughter's house fixing
Yeah,
stuff.
I do.
Don't even pretend. I know the truth. So technology. So in construction trades and throughout every industry, I always laugh about our IT sector partnership, which is really important. But how do you have a sector partnership? Because IT is literally in every sector. So in construction trades, what do you see as how technology is impacting the work that is being done in building? And has it increased safety protocols? What additional training are you seeing people need to take full advantage of the technology?
Yeah, oh boy, that could go into a day-long discussion on its own because technology has literally crept into every aspect of construction. On my end, the estimating and project management, everything is done on computer this day and age. In the old days, you were flipping through big drawings and pages of plans and doing estimating and difficult work by hand. Now, literally everything is drawn three-dimensionally. You're seeing conflicts in buildings, structural, mechanical, how you're going to run the ductwork before you even step foot on the actual project, which saves time and money and aggravation from everybody. But technology in the field is increased as well. And I think the goal is try to save everybody's back, try to save labor and make things easier. You work smarter and not harder. Like in the old days, it was, watch the documentary on how they built the Hoover Dam, and you're like, oh my gosh, how could people even do that? This day and age, just the cranes and the equipment, the laser technology on excavators is absolutely amazing. They're even finding these robots that will pick up block and lay them in the wall to keep the laborers' backs good for the next 40 years. The technology itself is just absolutely incredible in every aspect of construction and how it's helping every trade and every kind of discipline in the events.
Excellent. So we had another question. Are there bonuses for finishing projects?
Good question. It depends on what trade you're in. I know a lot of the contractors have bonus programs for their people, and they would go something like this. I have 1,000 hours estimated for this project. If you beat that by a certain percentage, I'll give you 10% of the savings. And so typically if you're a supervisor or a foreman, you're included in part of those projects. For Notre Dame, we have incentivized some of our construction projects that we don't have a vote on. For instance, if we build a new dormitory and we have 250 beds that will be filled in August, we need to guarantee those beds are going to be filled in August. And by implementing any kind of incentives, what you do is you incentivize people to say, you know what, I think we're going to work 10-hour days this week while the weather's nice and get ahead of the schedule a little bit and guarantee that we get this job done on time. It's a win-win for everybody. So I think depending on who you are, yes, there's incentives for almost everybody.
Wonderful. Does Notre Dame hire students for summer and part-time work? Are there internships? How do students apply for the jobs? Like how do students get engaged? I guess high school and college level students.
That's a great question. Yes, on all levels. As a matter of fact, I personally have two interns myself, just to helping me with the day-to-day work that I do here. So fall semester, spring semester, we'll post on our website, on the Notre Dame's website, that we have intern positions open. What are really valuable, and specifically to the people on this call, is our summer internships, right? And so normally the students are gone in the summertime, and so we have a hard time filling those positions. But there's always intern positions available, and it's really directly impacted in for the trades. It's normally office positions, like in our office in construction or maintenance, and you get to get out to the job site, see the projects, help with identifying the planning stages of all projects. So it really gets your feet wet, and yes, we have those available depending on the year and the need. Could have anywhere from 4 to 10 interns that we would hire in our department.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah.
Great work experience.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you talked about how you went to school, got your bachelor's and got into the work that you did. How have you continued your education? Because I know, like, for me, like, there's always another class to take or another new skill to learn. Have you like gone after other certifications, gained special skills, and what would you recommend for the students going forward? How do you keep stacking those on top of each other?
That's an important aspect, and it's for every trade. Even if you're a tradesman, I know there's constantly evolving programs like electronic door hardware. That didn't really exist 20, 30 years ago. So carpenters knew how to install a lock set on a door and hinges and how to adjust things, but didn't know the technology behind programmable security systems and lockable doors. So that's a good example of just continuing education that's available through the unions. But I think you have to have desire and sign up for it. In my role here at Notre Dame as an executive, I knew with a bachelor's degree, I would only be a project manager and an estimator for my entire life. So I went back to school and got a master's degree in order to become a director. And so I think in every aspect, the education growth is important. You don't want to be stagnant and just learning what you learn and then expecting it to still be applicable 20, 30 years later, especially when that learning doesn't cost you anything, when there's availability, but you have to have the drive to sign up for those classes and do them through the union programs.
Yeah, taking advantage of the opportunities that get put in front of you is like a key part of professional growth. And sometimes I think it can feel overwhelming, but sometimes you just have to grab a hold of it and make it happen.
Yeah, and what I see is most companies recognize that and see the benefit that that's going to get them. So, for instance, Notre Dame helped me tremendously with my master's degree cost, and I know other contractors will literally pay if it's a class or another degree that you want to get earn. They'll end up paying for that. I don't know if that existed 20, 30 years ago, but it certainly does now.
Excellent. So can classes come visit Notre Dame to see this in person and what the projects are going on?
Yeah, I encourage it. All the local schools, I typically have pretty good relationships because it's different. I would love for students and even parents to see what real building trades looks like. When we're building a 100,000 square foot building with labs and equipment or new residence halls, it's different than a home. It's different than a medical building, if you will. These are large construction projects that our tradesmen take really great pride in building. And so what I do is I encourage trips. If there's an entire construction class that wants to come out and take a look and a tour of a building under construction, just call me and schedule it. If there's an individual student that wants to learn a little bit more, my door and my phone is always open to have those discussions and help guide them in the right direction. I've got all the contacts for union representation and the contractors. If somebody wants to become an electrician and go talk to an electrical contractor or a general contractor, or concrete contractor, I can help guide those decisions. So I'm here for a resource for anybody listening on this call, either from a class perspective or a personal perspective.
Wonderful. Thank you, Tony. So I'm going to close with a question. I can't believe it's already 11 o'clock, but my closing question is, what do you know now that you wish you knew when you were in school?
Yeah, I'll make this a simple one. When I got out of school, I thought I knew everything, right? Because that was literally some of the first generations of, yeah, go to college and learn about construction instead of learning through the trades. What I didn't know is I didn't know what I didn't know. When I finally started working at Zolkowski, I had a chip on my shoulder, thinking, hey, I'm the first person in this office with a graduate college graduate degree in construction, so I know more than you guys. I didn't really know that I didn't know anything. It took about 5 or 6 months of actually being in the trade to think, boy, I am learning from scratch, right? So even the college degree really didn't help me as much as I thought. I mean, it gave me a big picture, but getting your hands and your feet wet it was an amazing experience. And so if you can be humble about it and just learn from the people around you, the sky's the limit. It really is.
Wonderful. That's great information and great advice. So many thanks to Tony and to all the attending students and educators. Encourage everybody again to visit the Building Trades landing page. I did see a question about finding all this information. And if you go to the South Bend Regional Chamber website, there's a talent tab and you can pull down and you can find building trades there. And that's where all this information, career pathways, a business directory, all that information is out there. All the panels are also being recorded, so you'll be able to learn from other employers, educators, and community partners. Go back and review this if there's something that was too fast and you missed it, or you just want to share it. We'd encourage students to go ahead and share with your parents and share, if there's other students that you think would find this interesting, please spread the word so they know that this message is out there. So thanks to everybody for being here today. Stay warm and stay healthy and enjoy your day. Thank you.
Thank you. All right.